Howdy y'all, hope you're doing good. So we're just here in one of our units that we are renovating, and just wanted to share something real quick, that when you are buying your product and materials, like we do, for example, we buy all of our product and materials in bulk before we start our project, and that saves us a lot of cash, time, drives our efficiencies and all that good stuff. However, one thing that you also need to consider is the fact that it's not just during the initial phase or the renovation that you need to think about. You need to think about the ongoing operational efficiency of these units, right? So what do I mean? So initially you renovate, you get a tenant in, and then that tenant might stay for a year, stuff happens and move on. If that tenant has moved out, you need to turn that unit. Now, ideally it will be a lighter turn, but what you want to do is you think about, okay, what kind of scheme did you put in place? Like the flooring, the paint, because you want to minimize your ongoing capital expenditure, right? Because you have gone through your initial CapEx. So like for us, we've settled on a brand scheme. So this is the particular flooring we use across all of our properties. Our walls have a specific color scheme. Our accent has a particular scheme to it. The baseboards, the trims, the doors. So what that does for us is when we buy our paint, we buy for across the entire portfolio. So when the tenant moves out, if you just need to do a minor touch-up, for example, since you have the same paint, it's cost effective and turn that unit faster and get it back onto the market. However, if you have different colors, then instead of just doing a minor touch-up, for example, you have to paint the entire wall or the whole unit, right? So that's what I mean when you are designing you're doing your underwriting and designing your renovation strategy. You need to think about what are you going to do down in the future when you're actually stabilized and in full operation mode, okay? So that's something, we had to learn, or at least I had to learn over time. So just quick tip, especially for those young GPs or investors out there. So you always need to think about that. You might get the cheapest product upfront, but you want to think about what you have coming up. So another good example I want to share, like we have a property that we're closing on next week. So we could have gotten our paint, similar type paint, a little bit cheaper. However, the cost of switching out from our regular vendor would be astronomical. So we can go ahead, buy it cheaper now. We paint the entire property, but now when we get into stabilized mode, and we have to do a turn, we won't be able to match that. It's just going to be unique. It won't fit across the whole portfolio. And that's just going to drive our cost up, reduce our efficiency, and just make us ineffective. So that's something we're definitely not going to do. So we know we can get it cheaper. We'll take that extra cost or expense because we know it's really going to improve our efficiency. That's the tip for today. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm out.